welcome back. Today, if you are interested in making better decisions in your business, and we're not talking about, oh, I feel like my website should be black instead of blue, or I feel like it should be white instead of black, that kind of thing. We're talking about using numbers, analytics. And if that scares you, not to worry. We're going to talk about that today. Stay tuned. We are Nate and Simone. We talk all things marketing. And today we're going to talk about making better decisions in your business based on analytics, based on the numbers in your business. Hey, Nate, how's it going?
Hello. Once again, back in action here. I'm good.
Uh-oh. Did it disconnect? I think it disconnected. Hold on. No,
From
it
YouTube?
says we're
No,
connected. Okay.
yeah,
It's
you're still
going.
on there.
All
hmm
right. It sent me back to the broadcast page. Anyway. All righty. So continue.
Well, yeah. So, we're talking about analytics here. I know it's a pretty dry topic, I understand, but excuse me, pardon me. I have to edit that out. I okay. So the question here is how to go about using those analytics to make some good decisions in your business, right? So we're going to talk about the importance of analytics and marketing specifically, what key metrics we should be looking for or monitoring as small business owners. Any kind of strategies that can help us to interpret the data or adjust our campaigns to improve our ROI. And yeah, we'll go from there. So first up, why analytics? Why do they matter for better decision making? And I think one of the things that one of the things about analytics is it kind of goes to the root of what makes digital marketing so attractive as a as an avenue for increasing awareness and knowledge about your business and reaching your customers is because almost everything is trackable in digital marketing. That was especially true early on. Within the last few years, there have been sort of tectonic shifts, let's say, um, with Google and Facebook announcing that they are no longer going to allow third-party cookies and all this kind of stuff, tracking cookies and all this kind of stuff, which I believe that's been postponed as far as I know. But nonetheless, a lot of advertisers are, the groundwork has been laid to kind of move away from that tracking cookie model to first party pixels and all this kind of stuff, and really owning the data. But for now, the analytics is operating as usual, and that's gives Google Analytics is probably the most famous analytics system out there. There are others which are maybe easier to interpret, but they require you to pay for that. Google gives this away for free. It's basically a way for you to see what your users, how they're interacting with your website or your entire funnel potentially, especially if you're using Google Ads, right? How all that works together, and you can kind of track them. See the steps that your customers took to get to you, and tweak the steps along the way to help improve the likelihood that they're going to get to you. That's kind of the idea. And it's basically giving you the information that you need to make informed decisions rather than operate. I think that I'm going to do this because I feel like,
Mhm.
uh, you know, guessing and hoping are not strategies, as I say. So,
Right. Throwing something at the wall to see what sticks is not a great
yeah,
strategy.
yeah.
Um, And neither is deciding, well, because I like it. Well, you might like something, but based on the numbers and uh, what the analytics tell you, the people that you are targeting may not like it. So
Yeah, and
it
really
really
that's
has
what
to,
counts, right?
exactly. If you want them to pay you, then you should do what they like.
Yeah,
Pretty simple. Pretty
right,
simple.
exactly.
Hmm.
It knowing knowing your analytics allows you to identify the strengths, that your brand has. It also can help you identify any weaknesses that you may have. And of course, opportunities, especially when you are comparing yourself against your competition, and seeing what works for them. There's a various array of tools out there that allow you to kind of, spy on your customer, or excuse me, on your competition, to uh, to get some information and see what's actually working for them. And then you can turn around and apply that to your own business, right? So, all right. Now we understand why it's crucial. Let's talk about some of the metrics that we need to pay attention to along the way here. So, um, conversion rates is probably number one, especially if you're talking about doing ads. Conversion is when the person who sees the ad takes the action that you want them to take, right? That's pretty, uh, and hopefully that means that they're turning into customers. But I think, especially if we're talking about ads, um, uh, a lot of times, digital marketing companies will sell you on, like, the number of impressions that an ad has generated, or the number of impressions that your social media post has generated, and all that kind of stuff, right? But that's actually turning into revenue. Who cares?
Exactly. I've heard somebody say before that, really the only metrics that matter are the ones that are filling your wallet. So
Yeah,
if the number of impressions, you may have a ton of impressions, but none of those people who have seen your post are buying, then that's not really helping you. So your conversion rate is, well, okay, they saw it, they interacted, they clicked the link. They may have scheduled a call with you to talk to you about your offer, or they actually bought your book, or they bought your thing.
yeah,
That's a conversion rate, right? If you
yeah,
if you're leading them to a lead magnet, how many of them actually filled out the form to give you their information? That's a
yeah,
conversion,
yeah. It
you
doesn't
know?
have to be that they're actually. It doesn't necessarily have to mean that they're paying customers. Just that they have taken
Mhm.
the action that you want them to take. If you wanted them to give you their contact information so that you could nurture them, so that they become a customer, that is a conversion, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. All conversions are not the same.
yeah. Um, Speaking of impressions, etc. So impressions is one of those things that is sort of like, let's call it a high level. This many people saw this, or may have seen this. They were shown it in the feed.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Whether or
it
not they
showed
actually
up in
saw it
their
is another
feed.
matter.
Right.
It
It
appeared
showed up
in
in
their
their feed.
feed, right? Yeah,
Whether they watched it or not, that's a whole different
yeah.
metric.
If we're talking about like Google Ads, it appeared on the
Reddit.
search page when they did a search, right?
Yeah.
That's all that means, really. And so it's whether or not they take the next action. That's the key, and that is determined by how engaged they are with your message, right? And hopefully, if you have narrowed down your target market, then you already know the things that they want to hear, and you are saying that in your ads, and that is, engagement, right? Engagement looks like when they click on the like button, right, or they share it, right, or they make a comment. Those are engagement metrics that you want to pay attention to. they may not, and this is like especially true on social media, right? It's a little bit different with ads. You're more concerned maybe with that conversion rate than engagement metrics on ads,
Mhm.
right? But again, same. You can get impressions on social media just as you get impressions on your ads. But ultimately, if they aren't engaging, if they're not taking action, like it doesn't really matter, right? I know I've heard several different stories here recently about, well, I hired my social media, I hired a social media expert to help me out, and they grew my following to like 15,000 followers, but I got no, I didn't get any kind of business out of it. Well, depending on who you are using for to grow your audience, some of them have, let's say less than uh, uh, strictly organic means to grow your audience,
True.
right?
That's
Sometimes,
true.
it's kind of pay to play. Like you pay me a certain amount of money, and I guarantee you I'll get this number of followers. Well, that's because they have 14,000 people lined up to be followers, or they're all bots, somewhere in
Or
there.
they're all bots, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. Or they're doing like a follow for follow campaign, but these people
yeah,
aren't necessarily really your target audience. They're not
yeah,
resonating with your message, and so they're
yeah,
just following you because
yeah. And people like there are these social media companies, agencies out there that are making a boatload of money doing this, and they're not
Mhm,
really getting anything for their clients, right?
exactly.
Um,
I think people get caught up in the what they call vanity metrics, right? Oh, I have
yeah,
this many followers. Oh, I have this many,
yes,
likes on my posts, and
right,
all these different people are watching my videos. Well, that's great, but is that turning into sales?
yep, exactly. Um, okay, let's see here. Here's a question for our listeners to consider. Are you tracking data points that directly impact your bottom line, like sales volume or customer retention? Oh, that reminds me. One more key metric we forgot to mention. Um, Once you convert them, or once they're engaged, let's say they become a customer. One key that you want to pay attention to is how long they remain a paying customer. So that's your customer lifetime value, CLV or CLTV. Um, that is the long-term value that a customer brings to your business. And that helps you to figure out, okay, I know that I got this many customers from this channel, and I know that um, given my history, right, my historical averages and whatnot with revenues and so forth, I know that customers that come to me through this channel, on average, are going to be a higher value than customers that come through this other channel, whatever that may be. That
Mhm.
means, hey, I'm going to double down on this channel because I know that those are higher value customers, right? So that helps you to make that decision. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So are you tracking those? Anybody tracking those out there? Sales volume, customer retention, customer lifetime value, engagement, conversion. Let us know. All right. So understanding these is great, but how do you make sense of raw data? So here's some strategies ways to think about that. Um, we're getting into like how to simplify and streamline some of these these
Yeah.
data
And
streams that are out there.
this is
There's a ton of
good.
stuff
I
out
think,
there.
right, because a lot of people I feel like people get overwhelmed by looking at, especially looking at like a graph from Google Analytics or all the numbers that you get when you're running ads on Facebook. I think those can be pretty overwhelming, and it's just like, okay, is my ad getting me customers or not? Right? Like that's the simplest metric that really people want to know. I would imagine that's what I want to know. Is this ad going to make me money?
Yeah, and there are tools out there that can run simulations of ads to kind of allow you to um, figure out beforehand which one or which variables are likely to have the highest conversion. Of course, it's not really 100% until we get into the real world, right?
Till you
But
actually put it out there, huh?
there are ways to kind of minimize the risk there, but there's always going to be risk involved. And
Right.
again, we'll go back to, if you have already sorted through who your target market is, right? Who you're talking to, where they spend their time, what they want to hear, what about the problems that you are solving. Okay. I think one of the ways to simplify and streamline in this case, and like you said, without getting overwhelmed, is just to like narrow down your focus and only pay attention to the things that really are going to drive, move the needle, as they say, right?
Right.
Google Analytics, social media, insights on, interactions, engagements, and that kind of thing. CRM reports can help track those metrics, especially if you're talking about like email marketing, for example, right? Ideally, your CRM or email has an email marketing tool built into it, and it will attach the interactions that your contacts have had with your the output right there. That's pretty handy. I just recently had going along with this. I just recently had somebody who I talked to for the first time like 2 years ago, and they had basically fallen off the face of the earth, and I haven't heard from them. I had actually deleted their account in my system, but they remained on my email list. And
Mm-hmm.
so I sent out an email here. Was it last Friday or the Friday before? And it was, talking about doing a needs analysis, a gap analysis, why you need to do it, and some of the gave an example of some of the things that we've uncovered with past clients and how it's helped them. And the next following Thursday, this guy reached out to me out of the blue. Hey, are you still doing that? Can we do that? It took 2 years.
Yeah.
And I was able to go back through in my CRM and see, what emails he's been interacting with and opening, so that was useful for me. But that's encouraging also for me, generally speaking, when it comes to my email marketing. I know that it's effective and can work.
That's right.
Anyway, so um, some ways to kind of help break down the data so that you're not looking at these boring numbers and trying to make sense of percentages is if you can put it into a graph, right, or a dashboard. That's super useful. Trend lines, it makes it pretty obvious, this is going up,
Right.
versus
Up
okay.
good, down
Yes,
bad.
yes, exactly. There's that commercial with the monkeys showing the graph, and it's upside down. He turns it around, and it lifts going up. Then and everybody cheers. Anyway,
That's pretty good.
um, um, yeah. So that's a way to make it make sense.
That's the
There's
simplest way to read a graph, right?
Yeah, there's various tools out there that help you create those. Excel if you want to do pivot tables, if you know how to do that. Um, um, Google Analytics has built-in graphs and charts. There's
Yeah.
also like more advanced reports that you can generate on Google Analytics that can help put it even to make it even more digestible, especially if you're trying to make the case to your boss, or the CFO that what you're doing is actually worth it.
It's actually working right. Right. Yeah. GHL high level has a lot of analytics in it as well.
Mhm.
They actually just created a whole separate analytics panel, so you can filter through your funnels, websites, your social media, all of that. Everything comes with analytics.
Yeah, I'm a
Really
big fan
interesting.
of
Your
that
ads,
kind of stuff.
everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
And having a schedule built around reviewing these, monthly, quarterly, it kind of depends on maybe the size and scope of the situation. You
Mhm.
might even want to do it weekly, but if you're in the middle of a campaign and you're trying to adjust, that might be smart move. Um, but just setting up a regular schedule around it, whatever that may be, is going to be helpful, right? And
Absolutely.
you can just set a simple calendar reminder, if it could be that easy. There's a lot of tools that will generate these reports and send them to you automatically, so you don't have to remember. you know, um, yeah, I have a report set up for my clients that goes out for their SEO, for example, right?
Hmm.
Automatic. Um, all right. So if everyone is still there, then um, we have this activity. It probably doesn't make sense to try to do it right now, okay, but we don't really have anybody to join us.
Well, maybe we can send it to them if they're interested in getting it.
Yeah, there you go.
We do
If you
have it
guys,
available.
yeah, if you want to try out the activity on your own, just to test out the concepts, the basic concepts of doing analytics and analysis, like analyzing the analytics, you know,
Hmm.
helping you make sense of them, then do that. Have it's just generated example information, and then questions that help you kind of analyze it, like which channel is performing the best in terms of conversions, and then there's conversion data, impression data, the channel information, etc. And then you just kind of like do some of the math on the cost, the conversion, the clicks, etc. And kind of a fun exercise, give you a little bit of an idea of what we're talking about. We can send that your way. Um, yeah. All right. Well, let's see here. Hmm, I guess before we wrap up, we should do a little bit of a recap, maybe near the end here of the
Sure.
discussion. So, what did we learn about here? We talked about analytics, how that makes your marketing efforts smarter and not harder.
Yeah. How we talk about how it's better for decision making, right? It's better to use the numbers rather than relying on our own feelings or our own thoughts that just tend to kind of go round and round in our heads, and our own preferences. It's much better to look at the numbers than go with our own preferences, because ultimately we want to make sure that our customers are being served rather than ourselves.
You know,
You know, and we talked about key metrics to track, right? What should we be tracking? We should be tracking conversion rates, engagement metrics, likes, shares, comments. Are our posts, are our ads reaching people? How are they feeling about it? What are they saying about it? That gives us some insights into whether our ads or our posts are working. And then also look at customer lifetime value, right? How long is a customer staying around, and how much what kind of value are they bringing into the business, right? Are they continuing to buy, to purchase, or are they leaving pretty soon after like the first program is over, or they just buy the one product and they're gone, you know? Or
yeah.
do we have customers that just keep coming back? That's a good metric to track, absolutely.
What are the customers buying?
What
And
are they buying?
can
Exactly.
can you suggest those or suggest that to other customers who have not bought that thing,
Mhm.
based on this other one, and then does that then become an option, an opportunity for an upsell? Ultimately,
Mhm.
it's a lot less expensive to keep the customers that you have, right? Rather than
Absolutely.
going out and acquiring a new one. And so that,
And say you're a product business. Um, when you track which products are people are buying the most, it helps you to save energy and resources on the stuff that people aren't buying, right? You can maybe eliminate the products that people aren't buying and doubling down on the ones that they are buying. And in that way, you're actually helping your business to grow and saving yourself the time and the headache on things that just aren't going to move the needle.
yeah, a lot of people, especially if we're talking about like products, for example, um, some people run into the trap of thinking that having things in inventory is a good idea. Um, but that's actually, the inventory on the shelves is actually a liability
Oh,
until it's sold. So
absolutely.
knowing which items are actually going to sell, crucial.
Very
Um,
crucial.
yeah.
Absolutely. All
All
right.
right.
And so then we also talked about um, turning them into actionable insights, like actually making those decisions based on the data and using visualizations rather than just straight numbers in order to help you, right? We talked about the graphs and
Yeah.
how, if it's trending up, that's a good sign. Trending down is not a good sign. That means that things need to change.
hmm Yep. And anytime you can make that more obvious, it's going to help you make the case to your boss or to, the CFO, et cetera.
Hmm.
Or, if you're someone who's working with other businesses, even, right? Hey, this is not working, and here's why, and just immediately show it visually, right? That's
Absolutely.
people, number one way that people learn is visual, right? Second is auditory. So that's if you can make it immediately apparent, by all means do so. Um,
Yeah.
all right, so there's, like I said, there's all kinds of things out there to help you get started. Google Analytics is free. Try that out. Google Search Console. Those are the two that I always recommend, that all my clients. Surprising amount of them do not have that in place before they get to me, which is mind-boggling to me. But those are basic. It's free. It allows you to see the keywords that people are using to find you. It allows you to see, who's coming to your website from where, how long they're staying, what actions they're taking. So it's kind of a no-brainer for that. There are more advanced analytics tools that kind of dig in even deeper. Another free one that I can think of off the top of my head is Microsoft Clarity, which allows you to see it generates heat maps, and it's a totally free tool. So it'll create heat maps on, like, which is great for your landing pages, for example. If you have ads that are running to a landing page and you want to see what exactly the actions are people are taking when they get there, uh, use Microsoft Clarity, and it will show you. It actually has recordings of the actions that people took. They clicked here, they scrolled here, and it'll show heat maps, like an average of all the visitors, where most people take actions, what those actions are, whether it's a click or a scroll, etc. And it'll show you where exactly they're clicking. And so if you want to try to
Hmm.
optimize that, that's a wise decision.
There's another one that does that too, isn't there? And I'm
Yeah,
forgetting the name of
Hotjar,
it. Hotjar.
Hotjar. Yeah,
Yeah.
but you have to pay for that one. Microsoft Clarity is free.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Microsoft Clarity. That's a good idea. So, so we've come to the end. So here's a question before you go, and you can put this in the comments. What are you going to start? What are you going to do? based on this information? How will you start using your marketing data? Are you going to pick a tool? Are you going to install a tool? Say you've been, I think I remember I actually had Hotjar. Hotjar does have a free version. I had it on my old website and I didn't put it on the new website. So I got to put it on the new website just to see where people are going, right? So how are you going to start using your marketing data? Are you going to use it to help you to optimize your ads, optimize your website, you know, optimize your SEO, change up how you're posting on social media, change up your ads? What are you going to do? And while you're in the comments, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Thank you so much for watching. And
Absolutely.
remember, smart decisions start with strong data. Without the data, you don't know what's really going on, do you? So, and we're here to help you every step of the way. Contact one of us if you need help. Any last words, Nate?
Oh,